Flamengo tried to sign Árias, Darwin Núñez, and still has plans regarding the signing of Richarlison. And there's also an answer regarding Marcos Leonardo. We're also going to bring up some other situations regarding the press conference. Felipe Luiz, who had said it wasn't a physical problem, now says it is a physical problem, man. Flamengo needs to find itself. Flamengo is doing badly. At least Felipe admitted it this time. Before, he was saying he didn't play well here. Now he admits that Flamengo is playing badly. He admits they're playing badly. In other words, there's a lot to improve, a lot to fix. We also have the mixed zone, everything to bring early on. Here, I just want to get straight to the point. I'm not even in the mood to talk about sponsors, talk about anything. Look, the mood is terrible, man. A draw that feels like a defeat. But Botafogo also lost, got thrashed. No, 5-3 isn't a thrashing, but they conceded 5 goals in a comeback by Grêmio. No, Palmeiras scored 5. Against Vitória, Flamengo has an obligation in the next round to beat Vitória. Even away from home, it's their duty. Yesterday, I was saying Vitória won the first round. It's going to be a tough game. It really won't be easy. No, it really won't be easy. No. I'm just going to invite you to subscribe to the channel. As always, if you haven't subscribed yet, if you haven't turned on notifications, give us that support to help our work. Well, we have here Felipe Luiz. Look, I just want to remind you, okay, Felipe Luiz, what he said at the press conference, okay, that we recorded here. Take off the jacket, put on the jacket. Felipe Luiz. It's hard to defend. It's hard to defend. Look, I'm a huge fan, but it's hard to defend, and I don't have to defend anyone. I'm here to defend Flamengo. The most important thing is that you've already admitted that everything is wrong, that things need to improve. You made it clear that things need to get better and that things are wrong. But look at what he said in the last game, right? Look at what he said in the last game. Let's go.
When the victory doesn't come, or rather when the result doesn't come, people start looking for excuses or someone to blame, and that's not how it should be. Both teams are at the beginning of the season. Both teams are still reaching our best physical shape. My team played nearly the whole second half with one man down, mostly in the opponent's half. So, if it were about physical condition, it definitely wouldn't be like this. Second half with one man down. The tendency would be for Corinthians to score 3-4 goals and win easily against a team that should be much better physically. Like you said.
How was the physical condition? Yesterday.
Recognizing the team's bad game reminded me a lot of the match against Tatara yesterday. Last year, it really reminded me of this return match. Thank you. Some actions at the wrong time, some pressure at the wrong time really reminded me of that game. And it's clear, today it was very clear, for example, that there's still a lot missing in terms of the players' physical condition, a bit of their physical side.
Since they don't...
Still not well physically.
In a way that...
I hope they are, and they're used to playing. They're arriving a bit late and doing things slightly. Getting to the pressure a little late. The ball is burning a bit on their feet. That's also related to the mental aspect and making poor decisions.
Look, Felipe, you're still young, even as a coach, let me say. At the post-game press conference, it would have been easier if you had told the truth, if you had said it was about the physical part, yes, but what can you do? What do you have to work on to get to where you expect? There, he realized there was no way to keep it up after saying that. And I think it's important for you to tell the truth, like you said at the non-governmental organization press conference. I'm going to stay here.
You get more tired physically, think less clearly, and make poor decisions. Players are still adjusting.
From the way I
know them, it's still going to take a little while, but we'll get back. I have no doubt.
I don't
have
doubt. No, this is a knife between the teeth, tiger. You have to want to be at Flamengo. You have to want to beat those guys. You have to want to win again. It's not just about a good contract. You have to truly want to be at Flamengo. There's no room for just going through the motions.
Let's put it this way. With the games, we'll get better, and in those aspects, we'll make corrections. Things will be corrected, and I'm sure the pressure will fit.
The line will move up together, everything will be in a better team. Because when one goes without a teammate, that's when you really get it, that's when it really happens.
Today I saw my team very exposed to the point where I can say we were actually closer to losing than to winning.
I don't think so. Inter didn't scare Flamengo. Actually, Flamengo scared Inter, even though they weren't playing well. I don't think they were close to losing. Flamengo never had a real chance to win. Really, it was very bad. I'm glad you admitted things are tough and difficult. And they are. The thing is, I've never seen the team reach the fourth game of the season in good physical shape. He said they were in good physical shape, right? That worries me. Him not owning up to things and then changing his story later. Seriously. Look, I really like Felipe, but this time he was wrong. But it's okay, let's think about it. And yeah, he's still going to complete 2 years in his career. He's really young in his career, right? Yeah. It's just that it bothers me. It bothers me the way Flamengo played. But it's good that now at least he admits that it's a physical issue. It worries me that when things go wrong, he always looks for excuses when there aren't any. They played poorly and are out of shape, which isn't an excuse. Just admit it's bad and say you'll improve. Felipe, it's simple. It's bad. I'll get better. What's the active one? The press conference, I'll tell you, a lot of journalists like it. Everyone wants to see what the coach has to say, what he has to say after the game. But the press conference gets in the way of coaches when the coach doesn't know how to use it. The press conference works against you. It works against you, so Felipe should be aware because the press conference can be harmful. Maybe even prepare better for what you're going to say so you don't end up saying one thing and then having to change it later. You will be able to find your team. You will be able to recover all of this. You'll get your physical condition back, but go to the press conference. You don't need to make excuses. You don't need to make excuses. You even said that yourself, finding excuses and all that. You don't need to. Just go there, sit down, tell the truth, and that's it. Don't make excuses. You don't need to find an excuse. It's for everything. Tell the truth, like you just said, the physical part is way below. That's it, period. I know losing is tough. Even though it's the Super Cup, it's not the Brasileirão, it's not the Copa do Brasil. The Super Cup has a little less value. It's a national title, but with a bit less importance. But even though it's the Super Cup, it's hard to accept that. That's where the message is left, right? Well, before we bring some other parts of the press conference, here's a question from our reporter Gabriel Orfon about the lack of pressure from Flamengo's players. The passivity of Flamengo's players. When it's time to put pressure, Flamengo's players are passive when it comes to demanding more. They don't put pressure on the referees, and Felipe said nothing can really be done. And just like he's going to ask that from the players, I'm going to bring all of this up here. That one I disagreed with. It's part of soccer, putting pressure. The guys always put pressure against Flamengo. And there are some players who, as my friend Lula, former president of the group, said, he was venting on Instagram yesterday. And he said that there are players who, man, play with their heads down, under pressure playing for Flamengo, and that they need to improve. The fan won't, man. The fan will. I don't like booing either. I don't think it's cool, but the fan paid for the ticket. He's going to boo. There's no way he will. And the player will have to find the strength to improve to get better. Expensive players, that's concerning. The guy comes into the game with his head down. He can't perform. He just makes mistakes. Then the fan goes and it gets increasingly harder. It's becoming increasingly difficult to deliver the latest transfer market news. Now we'll share the remaining press conference clips, including our reporter's question. Flamengo made an offer. We mentioned here that Flamengo was trying to sign John Arias, and some people ridiculed us. We said that Flamengo was really trying to sign John Arias. Flamengo still hasn't commented on John Arias' response. The information that has just come in, even from the newspaper OGLOBO, was confirmed yesterday at Maracanã. There was a club official who spoke to the press, and we have all the details here from the official's conversation. Flamengo made an offer of around 22 million euros, which actually served to increase the price. Palmeiras is paying because Flamengo offered 22 million euros, so Palmeiras had to offer more to close the deal. With John Arias, it's 25 million euros to announce the player. That's it. And Fluminense couldn't reach that amount also because of what Flamengo offered. So Flamengo ended up making the deal a bit harder, helped Palmeiras because Fluminense didn't reach 25. But it made the deal harder and more expensive. The John Arias deal, the whole negotiation about Arias surprised me. According to OGLOBO, and this has already been confirmed, the player didn't want it, and we had already talked about that. The first information we received was that he hadn't given an answer. We didn't know yet about John Arias' refusal, but now he really has turned it down. He wouldn't accept playing against Fluminense, and Flamengo was even considering a contract with the player where he wouldn't play against Fluminense. That's surreal, right? That's unbelievable. So that's the issue with John Arias. Flamengo really did reach out, like we said, and made an offer, so that's confirmed. Flamengo made an offer for John Arias, but he mentioned the issue of rivalry. He said he wouldn't play for a rival or another Brazilian club, but now he is. But with Flamengo had this difficulty because he didn't want to play for a direct rival here in Rio de Janeiro, Fluminense. Talking about this conversation between a source connected to the board and the journalists yesterday at Maracanã, our reporter was in that chat and it was investigated. That's when Flamengo checked the values for a loan signing of the striker Darwin Núñez. Flamengo tried to sign Darwin Núñez. It's the player from Al Hilal, right? The player's salary demands pushed the negotiation away. High values, right? Considered high, even by Flamengo, which has been making deals, so the values were considered high. The Uruguayan earns 16 million euros annually, according to a board source. And Flamengo did not proceed with Al Hilal, also at 16 million euros per year, because there are also signing bonuses. Everything is included there, built in. So Flamengo even looked into signing the striker Darwin Núñez on loan, but ended up giving up on the deal after hearing the amounts involved, and so on. And then there's also the issue of Flamengo having made progress, right? With Lucas Paquetá and everything, and then Flamengo, but it's a different position. We know that. But Flamengo needs to have money set aside for things. And these 42 million euros from Lucas Paquetá, which I'm seeing, people are already starting to criticize, guys. You'll have to be patient too. He's not going to show up and put on great performances overnight, okay? There are players who arrive, play really well in the first or second game, everyone gets impressed, and then they don't play well anymore. So let's be patient. Let's be patient. That's the financial issue Flamengo needs to address. That's why Flamengo sought to loan Darwin Núñez, okay? Remember, loans can also come with signing bonuses. He has a high salary and Flamengo couldn't afford to pay that, okay? So that's an important point to mention. Even if someone like Marcos Leonardo becomes available, it could be a loan. I'll clarify that and address other rumors too. The thing is, with a salary of 16 million euros a year, there's no way you can move forward with a deal like that, okay? It doesn't matter. But is there a way for Flamengo to make room in the payroll? People say Flamengo has money and signed Paquetá, but that's not true. Flamengo has to go for loans, for opportunities, but also without getting into a situation where they're paying astronomical salaries on a loan. That's just not possible. And now we also have to talk about the attack, right? We've already talked about Darwin Núñez, but we have a source close to the board talking to the press, talking to the journalists at Maracanã yesterday about the options for the attack, okay? And he talked about the possible signings of Marcos Leonardo and Richarlison. The striker Marcos Leonardo Eduardo doesn't have the desired characteristics, not even according to Felipe Luiz. It was confirmed yesterday he doesn't have the characteristics desired by Coach Felipe Luiz. What would those characteristics desired by Coach Felipe Luiz be? I don't know either, because for me, Marcos Leonardo is a top player, a player who would come in and immediately compete for a spot with Pedro. I have no doubt he would fight for a spot. So, according to the club official who spoke yesterday, the red and black coach wants a striker with characteristics of mobility, pressing, and who makes a lot of diagonal runs. Different from what Pedro does and closer to Caio Jorge, who is the player Felipe wanted them to sign. As for the other option that was considered, it was Richarlison's name. We also found out at Maracanã that the player at this moment doesn't intend to leave Europe. A source close to Flamengo's board shared this information. Still, the forward is highly valued by the football department and coaches. Felipe likes A's name. He had already mentioned this here, so it was confirmed that Richarlison at this moment doesn't intend to leave Europe. But he is highly regarded by the football department and the coaching staff. That's right, the whole issue is that he's a player who ends up being very expensive to bring from Europe and doesn't want to leave Europe. And regarding Marcos Leonardo, it's the kind of profile that's not appealing. It's not that Felipe doesn't like it, it's just not what Felipe wants. Okay, and then it also comes down to that issue, right? These guys fall into the issue of extremely high costs that Flamengo would have to take on, like in the case of Darwin Núñez, who we mentioned here, that Flamengo inquired about, investigated, right? We found out that Flamengo made an inquiry, looked for information. A high annual salary of 16 million euros worries Flamengo. They have money to sign players, but not unlimited funds. They have to start doing the math to see what they can or can't sign, right? So now let's check out the clips I selected from the press conference, quick parts from the press conference and the mixed zone, also from this game. Flamengo 1-1 opening match, Maracanã. There are already teams with 6 points, opening up a 5-point lead over Flamengo. Red Bull Bragantino isn't a club I think will fight for the title, but they're also close. Meanwhile, Palmeiras, with 4. It's a natural coincidence. Roberti is already in a tough spot at the start. Flamengo can't let the gap get too big, man. Flamengo has to fix this quickly. They have to start getting points fast. Thank you. Press conference in mixed zone.
Good evening, Cabral Para. I'm Benego Felipe. This is the question I want to ask you. I don't think it directly influenced the result of today's game.
Even because in your first answer you said that the team ended up playing a little below their level. But anyway, it's something that happens in some games.
We know that refereeing in Brazilian soccer has some shortcomings, we can put it that way, just like everywhere else. One of them, which is very common, we can say that many times the referee ends up making a call because of shouting, to put it in popular terms, and we see that your team tends to be very passive regarding this pressure, in a good way, against the refereeing. Don't you think that maybe your team, especially the captains,
Isn't there maybe a lack of being more active, of putting more pressure on the referee?
both in major controversial plays and simple cases like time wasting or when the goalkeeper delays returning the ball while leading? Thank you.
Thank you, my players. They do everything they're supposed to do in their roles. If they have to go onto the field and I tell them, hey, complain to the referee, go ahead, you go, that doesn't make any sense. Referees are responsible for officiating, not the players. It's true that I prefer referees who let the game flow, who like the game to keep moving. I like the flow, like in the Premier League. It has to be a real foul. I like today's referee, who gave 9 minutes of stoppage time. Very fair. And we are evolving. We can see that Brazilian soccer is evolving, and it's a process. Felipe, about the pressure. Since the first day I took over the team, I have no doubt that it's the seat with the most pressure in Brazil. I always feel good under pressure. I've told you before, I like it so much. I love soccer so much. I love what I do so much. I enjoy these moments. They challenge, grow, and inspire me. I don't sleep. I spend hours looking for solutions and actually enjoy the added pressure. But speaking honestly about the response on the field, which didn't come, but the support from the fans did, and that made me very happy. Truly, because it makes a difference, it makes a big difference. In the moments when the team was struggling the most, when we were even closer to conceding a goal than scoring one. That's when I heard the fans singing and supporting the team the most, and that means a lot to me. Afterwards, the game wasn't good, it was bad, we drew, and then they have every right in the world to boo and demand a better performance from us. But I'm really happy with the support they gave us during the 90 minutes, even when the games were under control. Yes, I hope so. I believe that some players regain their ideal physical shape by training with a sequence of practices, while others feel better with a sequence of games, with minutes on the field. I'm trying to adapt to all these situations, but honestly today the performance was much lower than in the final. For example, there were only 3 days of recovery.
On top of that, the emotional part comes into play. My job now, of course, besides the physical aspect, is to recover all the concepts.
But mainly the player's confidence, because players with confidence are on another level. So when a player lacks confidence, like I said, the ball slips away, and there's a whole set of things involved. I hope that by the final, which is in 2 weeks, I hope we'll be good, even better by then. Thank you everyone, thank you, good night everyone.
Good night. You actually came into the match while you played a good game, at least in my opinion. But we can't avoid talking about this moment for Flamengo, another game without being able to win. How is it among you all? How is this very unusual season going, so different from what was expected of Flamengo when last season ended? How are you handling another non-win internally, and what are you doing to overcome this tough period and respond positively to the fans?
First, it's tough. It's tough because 3 losses, and today it could have been another one. But luckily we managed to score a goal, and we also created chances to win the game. But of course, the start of the season wasn't the way everyone wanted. We are the first to hold ourselves accountable, and then the fans have every right to demand more. But we definitely will. We're going to work hard to get back to what we were a month ago.
At the start of the season, you and Royal are having a healthy competition for the right back spot. I wanted to know how this competition has been, and today Royal was booed at times. From the fans' side, I wanted to know how that feels. Having faced a similar situation at Flamengo, how can you help your teammate recover right now?
I understand it's difficult. I've been through it too, but you just have to keep your head up and trust the coach. Me too, everyone. And believe that things will happen at the right time. And you have to be physically well prepared so that when you get back to playing, you can do your best. But you have to be prepared and also count on the support of the fans, which is very important.
Good evening. You said the club and team are trying, but there have been 3 losses and a draw today. In your opinion, what's missing? Do you think it's technical mistakes? Do you think it's the physical part? Is it weighing a lot? What's missing for Flamengo to take off this season?
Of course, it's the physical part. But if you're not doing well physically, you won't have much quality either, because if you don't have enough breath to go back and forth, you'll also lose quality. So, when the team gets back to being 100% physically fit, we'll be able to do what we did a little over a month ago. That's what everyone wants. We are the first ones, and the fans also want the team to be like it was a month ago.